Hey YouTubers, my name is James, the non-professional, and I just wanted to teach you kids a little bit about how to draw simple cartoons. Now, when you draw, there's four stages in the process of drawing, and the first is called roughs, the second is called lines, the third is called inks, and the fourth is, of course, colors. Now, what you're looking at now is the process, or the stage in the process of drawing called roughs. And it's exactly like it sounds. It's just a very, very rough idea of what the actual drawing is going to look like. And what you do with roughs is you use basic shapes, like circles for the eyes, the oblong shape for the body, the cylinders for the arms, and the little circles for her little poofy sleeves. And you don't worry so much. Your pencils are what's called loose. In other words, you're not worrying so much about all the mistakes and all the lines drawn all over the place. You're just trying to get a basic sense of what the drawing is actually going to look like, what the final product is actually going to look like. And the reason why you do this is so that you're not, spending so much time drawing hard lines only to realize that that's not what it should look like. That's where you need to be, and then you end up erasing a lot. So that's the thing about drawing good drawings. For some people, they just have like this sort of natural talent. They could just like look at something and then draw it. But for me and like majority of the world, you have to draw roughs in order to get a good sense of what things are going to be, and then you go over it again with definitive lines. So basically, the good drawings generally are draw again, draw again. You're just drawing. Now, what you're looking at now is a stage of the drawing process called lines, and it's exactly like it sounds as well. You're just drawing definitive lines, and the reason why you want to draw definitive lines is because when the third process comes around, which is inks, the person who inks it, whether it be you or somebody that you coordinate with to do inks, they need to know exactly where to put the inks, where to draw the heavy black lines. Now, when you're drawing lines, there's a term in drawing called tight. In other words, your lines need to be very tight. You're going to hear me say that over and over again if you determine to watch, the rest of my videos. Now, what you're looking at here is what's called the transparency. Now, basically, it makes all the lines lighter so that when you go over it, you're not seeing all the lines that you drew before. Now, for most people, maybe not most people, but if you don't have a tablet or if you don't have an app that actually does transparencies, you want to get what's called tracing paper or a blue line pencil that does like very light lines before you actually go in and put in heavy lines. Now with inks, you got to be very meticulous. Now you might think that in order for you to be very detailed or very careful, you go slow. And actually, you want to draw sweeping lines. Sweeping lines generally have less mistakes. It doesn't have those little rough edges and those little overdraws that you just don't need in the final product. And the reason why you want everything to be so clean is because this is what's going to look like without the color. So now that all the lines are good, what we're doing is we're coloring. And the best way to stay inside the lines when you're coloring is to be very meticulous about the outlines, and then afterwards just go in and fill in all the white space in between. She's got this pink bow and pink shirt. It's sort of this, I guess, pink motif that she has. Very girly duck. Pink little daisies on her boots. All right, and so you notice, again, as I said, I'm doing outlines first, and then you just color in the white spaces. Daisy has this sort of deep purple eyeshadow, and then for some reason Disney goes in and they take the whites of her eyes and they color it blue. Now I know that was sort of weird at first, but when you take a step back and look at it, it actually looks pretty good. Now the final thing that I color is her feathers in her face and her neck and her body and her arms. And it may not look like I'm doing anything, but actually what you're looking at is a very, very light off-white. Now the reason why I put this sort of off-white in there is so that you can see some contrast between the background, which is just absolute white, and her actual feathers on her body. So she doesn't look like sort of see-through. So we're going to do her boots again, coloring in the outlines and then filling everything else in between. And that just about wraps it up. Always remember your 3 P's: patience, persistence, perseverance. That's how you grow.